Welcome to the Customer X Factor with Shantel Love. I am super excited to be able to not only launch this, but put this at front and center. I believe that this episode, this podcast is going to be so powerful. I'm so excited to be able to have her on. And I wanted to just kind of give an introduction to who I'm calling my friend, right? Today's guest is someone whose presence instantly commands attention, not because she's the loudest in the room, but because she's the most grounded. A leader who embodies empowerment through poise and confidence and self-clarity. She engineers her environments where her teams thrive. Customers feel seen. She's not just a manager and a leader of operations, but a cultivator of a competitive edge as it relates to how she deals with customers and the experience in her world. Her career is a masterclass in navigating the complexity with excellence and minimal standard. But here's the thing, Chantel doesn't just break glass, shears, and ceilings. She turns those things into stepping stones. She is an author. She is a speaker. She holds the ladder for not only those who are climbing with her, but those who are climbing behind her. She is focused on herself and always being intentional with clarity, integrity, and impact. This conversation is more than a business. This is about a vision. This is about becoming the kind of person your younger self would be proud of and everything else you can ever imagine. So I want to introduce the world to and whomever my audience to Chantel Love. It's an absolute honor. Let's get into it.
Yes, yes. Thank you, my friend. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Chantel, what I want to do in this podcast is really have a conversation with you. I think there's so much that everyone, whether it be women, women of color, men, whomever, right? There's so many things that I think can be learned just from your story, right? And this podcast is it's grounded on CX, right? It's grounded on customer experience because that's our world. But I really wanted to take time and really shine a light on who's doing the what, right? And not what's being created by the who. Right. So, and I think that's why I wanted to make sure I had you on. I've seen you speak and I've seen you be able to showcase your skill sets and be able to really be an asset and a tool to the customer experience world and things even that float outside of that. So what I wanted to really get into this with on you was what's something personal about you that doesn't show up on LinkedIn, right? That doesn't, I can go through your LinkedIn page or go to your company's website and see who you are, but like talk a little bit about something that just doesn't show up on paper.
Yeah, I appreciate this question. I think I could take it a couple directions,
Yeah.
honestly, but I have one in mind. One thing that you cannot discover via my LinkedIn is that I did not want to be in customer service or customer experience. Like, I literally resisted it for a really long time. And
Wow.
I found myself resisting it because I started in customer service back in 2008 and in telecom during
Okay.
I feel like I'm dating myself during the transition from analog to digital. And I did not have the best experience with my leadership. And from that experience, I said, I am trying to get as far away from customer service as possible. And I went into sales. And what I liked about sales is that I hadn't done sales before I did it,
Right.
but it taught me so much about myself. It taught me so much about how to speak up for myself, how to vocalize my value, how to
That's
negotiate
good.
contracts.
That's good.
So I love that, and I also love the fact that you can kind of manifest your destiny and how much you get paid with the commission piece. But during the pandemic, honestly, I needed a shift. I was going through the pandemic with my husband and my son. My husband is a type 1 diabetic, insulin dependent. So we were like in serious lockdown. Sales, you travel a lot. So I was in
Yep.
the airport every week or so. I found myself looking for a change, and my manager said, "We're reimagining customer service, and we think you should join this project." And I said, "Okay, I'll join the project." And then after the project, he was like, "I think you should apply for the head of this role." And I was like, I really don't know about. But then when I looked over my life, I said, at this point in time, my son was 2. I wanted to be more present. I didn't want to
Yep.
travel as much. I looked at it from a different lens, not from what I didn't want. I looked at it from
Mhm.
what I enjoy doing. I enjoy building high performance organizations. I enjoy solving really complicated problems. I enjoy curating and creating culture. And with the opportunity to rebuild, well, to build something from the ground up,
Yeah.
I took that as my opportunity. But yeah, if you were to look at my LinkedIn, you would not understand or agree that I resisted customer service and customer experience for a really long time.
Wow. Listen, that speaks volumes. I think the road is always interesting on how we make it there, right? I think being in sales, starting in a call center, which is something I did as well a long time ago, starting in the call center and then, obviously shifting over to the sales portion of the world, which is where I sit now. It's always interesting to hear the story. Now you lead with a bit of confidence and power and the way that you kind of navigate, all situations. Where does that come from? Where did you this is this just a natural trait? Is this something that you got from a young age when you were a little girl? Where does this come from?
Well, it's not something that came from me being a little girl. I think my confidence comes from knowing myself and knowing who I am. I genuinely believe that the fact that I don't have to be the smartest person in the room, the fact that I can be human when I'm upset, I cry, when I'm happy, I smile.
Yeah.
I believe that vulnerability is a superpower. I mean, it's not the vulnerability of oversharing stuff that no one needs to know, but the vulnerability of knowing that what I'm good at, I'm good at, I'm great at. And what I'm not good at, I have the expertise and the years of experience to hire and to empower someone to do those things as a fiduciary of the organization that I work for. But my confidence comes from really understanding and being okay with who I am, the brilliance, the strategy, the person who likes to sleep in late on the weekends, the mom who drops my son off at Driveline in a robe, but rushes back home and get my hair and stuff together so I can look good on camera.
There
All
it
of
is.
that, makes me who I am, and I'm okay with that. And it empowers me as a leader because
Mhm.
I'm not the only one who goes through life imperfectly. We are all the function of imperfect humans, and that's what makes us so great. So, my confidence comes from knowing who I am and owning that in every piece of its essence.
That's good. And I feel like it sounds like as you've gone through life, you've put these building blocks on as you've gone, right?
Yeah.
And you've become very comfortable in who you are and how you operate, right? And you talked a little bit about kind of leading teams a little bit earlier, just in a sense. But what's the most effective way to lead in customer experience, right? What is
Yeah.
if someone is looking to kind of get into this world and they came to Chantel Love and say, "Hey, I'm looking to do this, but I want to be a great leader. I want to be able to cultivate a good experience for my team and whomever." What would you tell this person?
Yeah. That's a really great question. I was watching an interview not too long ago, and there was the right hand man to Steve Jobs.
Mm,
And someone he was sharing an experience on conversation that he was having with Steve Jobs. He was being interviewed, and someone asked Steve Jobs, what was which product did he create that he was most proud of?
yeah.
And many people were, thinking that he was going to say like the iPhone or the iPod or something like
Mhm.
that, like something that, is tangible. But
Right.
he responded, he said the best product or the product that he's most proud of that he created is his team.
Mm,
The expertise, the patience, the discipline, the commitment that goes into curating a high performing team is often understated.
that's
And
good.
I right. And I think for anyone who's looking to get into this space, is looking beyond what it can pay me. Yes, the pay is good, right? I'm not even going to
Mm,
pull the wool over your eyes. but to sustain it, to be successful, is
Yes.
to really understand at the core who and what are you impacting. I know for me, I've worked in everything from software to telecommunications, hospitality to now education. And at the core of customer experience, customer service, the one thing that holds true is every single person that hears the sound of my voice, every single person that breathes air is a customer and a consumer of something.
Of something.
And we all know what it feels like to have a really good experience, but goodness, we will show talk from the mountaintop on the bad experience. So what I would say if someone is wanting to get into this space and they want to be a leader, just take inventory of where are the big opportunities to transform a meh experience to a magnificent experience. How can you really use your gifts and your talents? And I mean, that can be the gift and talent of observation, the gift of talent or strategy, the gift or a talent of gab to really support the evolution and transformation of an organization. It goes beyond the
That's
books that you read, the courses that you take. You really have to have the heart for people to sustain and to be successful in this space.
I feel like a large part of that is also trust,
Hmm.
right? I feel like having and sustaining a well-rounded and highly motivated organization, it also, I think some of that backbone is trust, right? And
Yeah.
that comes from the top down, right? Your team ultimately believing in the direction that you're steering the ship,
Yeah.
right? You've managed and overseen and been a cultivator of all of these different kind of teams and all different kind of geos, all different kind of nationalities,
Mhm.
backgrounds, and locations. How do you talk a little bit about, because I think this is a big deal and I think it's overlooked a lot. Talk about building trust within the organizations because that's a part of showing up to work every day,
Yeah.
right? Like that's a
Mhm.
part of like doing my job to the best of my ability. A part of that is yes, I want to get a check, but the other part is I need to trust you, right?
Mhm.
Can you
Yeah.
talk about that?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, psychological safety is real. And
Mhm.
psychological safety is not safety in every organization. And for me, at the core and the heart of my organization, I want people to feel psychologically safe because I know what it feels like not to have that. And most leaders, they build the organization that's polar opposite of the worst experience that they've ever had. So I think that's the first point. The second point is trust is earned. I just can't say go into a space, be it in Hong Kong, Canada,
Yeah,
Australia, Europe, or the US. I
yeah.
can't go into a conversation and say, trust me, and expect for someone to trust. They need to see and
Mhm.
believe that trust is there and trust that's sustained over time. Because as humans, we're naturally skeptical. And regardless of your cultural background, you have some skepticism about a person who has a title, a person who has the power to promote you, a person who has the authority and power to terminate you. So you will have some skepticism,
Yeah,
myself included, because I am a human being.
that's right.
I think the third point that I want to bring out is modeling
That's huge.
reason for people to trust you. There have been many instances in front of my leadership, my global leadership team. I have a team of 300 with 6 direct reports that are located in Asia, Australia, Europe, and the US.
That's right.
And what modeling looks like is, and I go back to vulnerability, sharing with my team, hey, I really messed up on this forecast and I thought I had it right, but I had a conversation with my manager. And then when we get in spaces with my manager, give them space and room to speak up, but also showing them that I'm vulnerable in front of my manager and not trying to be perfect
That's good.
and not trying to be something that I am not. What I've learned in my experience is that trust with leadership is gained early on when you are not always trying to be perfect, when you're not trying to be buttoned up, when you share that there is a problem January versus sharing a problem December 31st. Because they're like, why didn't you knew this the whole time? Why didn't you tell me
Right.
that there was a problem?
Exactly.
But I think those are the three things, really, really understanding what psychological safety is. Two, creating the space and giving people the permission to be them and not expecting for people to just trust you because it's earned. And then third, modeling what that looks like. People will trust what you say when they see that your actions are aligned to the words that are coming out of your mouth.
They line up.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My dad was huge on leading by example. He would always tell me in any sport that I ever played, he said, "Son, I understand sometimes you may not want to be the loudest, but at minimum, you can lead from the front, right? Like be okay with being the one making the mistakes first
Yeah.
so that the people behind you, for one, they see you're human. For two, they trust that you'll get up and keep going. And if they make the same mistakes, they know that you've already been through it and they can come to you looking
Mhm.
for a solution."
Yes.
So that was huge, right? So from then on, it's like, well, I don't know any other way to lead, right? If I'm going to lead, I may not be the loudest one in the room, right? My demeanor is not of such, but I'll always be the one who moves the quickest to try to be at the front to be, get the lessons out of the way for the rest of it and everyone else. So
Yeah.
I completely understand where you're coming from on that one. That was
Yeah.
really good. Now, in a space that's like dominated, because we're moving into this era of, we talked about leadership and we're talking about trust. A little bit about on the human side, right? To where we're bringing in AI,
Hmm.
right? We're bringing in all of these technology solutions, right? There can be a hair fracture of trust that that's also that it can be very difficult
Yeah.
for the people that are agents, things of that nature. I know in my world we have agents all across the country, right? You start talking about AI, you start talking about technology, but
Right.
you have to make it very clear that this is not a replacement, right?
Yeah.
So how do you keep the humanity in the forward thinking of technology and innovation when it comes to like implementing that into the organization?
Well, my number one goal as a human leader is to always protect human intelligence. I've been an early adopter of AI. We've used AI and my team as early as 2021, but at Pearson we've been using AI for well over a decade. So I think it's important to frame that AI is a productivity tool. It's enhanced our
There you
overall
go.
customer experience. And I think the dialogue is important because even in me protecting human intelligence within my organization,
Yeah.
it's not to shy away from the conversations that are happening externally. Externally, they can Google and read or, get access to an article that says boldly, AI will replace human beings. And if we're not having that dialogue, addressing the fear and concern that they have, that's a miss on leadership. AI, yeah, AI is dominating. AI will take jobs. And I've said this to my organization all the way down to the agent level. But the
Yeah.
thing that differentiates me is not to say it from a fear led space, it's from a space of empowering them. So if we believe that there will come a point in time, and I saw a stat that I shared with my team. There was a stat that said 61% of hiring managers will not even interview a candidate if they don't have AI acumen on their resume. If that is a fact today, my responsibility as a leader is to upskill, introduce, expose my team to AI tools, resources, knowledge, and training so that they're
Yeah.
prepared for the future of work. So, in our organization, we have a meeting that's coming up soon, an all leadership meeting. I encourage them to use AI. There was a point in time where I was meeting with my supervisors and they would say, I sneak and use AI for this and this is my secret. And I'm like, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a secret. Like
It's
I
not a
use
secret.
AI every
We all
single
know.
day.
Yeah.
I
We
used it
know.
for the meeting notes. I used it for the PowerPoint. Let me tell you how I used it.
Absolutely.
And when we do things like that and we break it down from this secret, it
Yeah.
allows the space for people to share. Like this is how I use it. This is how it enhanced it allowed me to do these reports quicker, and it gave me more time to do the things that I'm specialized in, like coaching my people to peak performance. So I think it's important to really reframe it. I mean, the reality is the reality. But what are you doing to prepare your organization for the future of work? What are you doing to prepare your customers for the future of work? How are you embracing it as a part of your culture? I even allow some of we call our agents champions. I even allow some of our champions to be a part of the conversations when we're piloting AI, because for me, I can be sitting up so high and I can say, yeah, this is going to solve XYZ. And then I'll have a champion come in and say, nah, did you all think about this? Or can it solve for that? And then it
Listen,
makes the implementation more
yes,
powerful and you get the buy in. So I think the reality of it is how you frame it and how you use it as a lever and as a leveraging tool.
I agree. I agree. And I think a large portion of the AI piece, as it relates to replacing jobs,
Mhm.
I think when it comes to jobs, it replaces jobs that are when you're not empowering or enabling your agents to be, for one, be upskilled, to acquire new skills and knowledges as it relates to AI and all kind of different technologies. For one, you're stunning growth. For two,
Yes.
those are the only ones that I would imagine that would even be replaced. So you're not in all actuality, it's not going to be, in my mind, it's not so much of agent replacement, it's agent upskilling for the
Yes.
sake of AI, right?
Yes.
So with Transcon, with my company, one of the major things is how do we continue to keep AI technology from a global perspective, right? In the vein of what we do, right?
Yeah.
Because it's something that's going to be ever changing, right? 6 months ago, it wasn't where it was today, and 6 months later, it's not going to be where it is now.
Right.
But I guarantee you, at any one of the sites globally that we have, you will see that these agents are not only excited about AI, but they are front and center on the leverage of AI, and they also teach us in return,
Yes.
right? Of like, hey, this is how we can use this better. Here's some analytical data that we can actually plug into the AI that makes us work better. Here's how we, reach these KPIs better.
Mhm.
So if you're not doing that, I don't know what you're doing. And it's just that's really what it's about, right? How do we upskill the technology and the agent to make them they become more valuable, not just for Transcom, but for whatever their career advancement wants to be and looks to be, right?
Yeah.
Some of them want to go into leadership roles, they want to go into coaching, they want to go into all kind of things. They want to start their own business,
Yeah.
right? So allow this to be a bungee board
Mhm.
for you to be able to acquire these skills. So
Agree.
what you said is absolutely on point.
Mhm.
And it brings me to another point as it relates to like leaders and how do we cultivate better leadership for that next generation, right? What would you say to an organization or a leader who is more focused on being the best leader they can be, but they miss the mark on cultivation? Right?
Mm.
It's almost like they have all the fruits and seeds to be able to put into the ground, but they don't cultivate any of the soil in order to reap, you know, anything that they would like to sow. So what would you say to a leader who's like, I'm focused on me and being better, but they haven't quite mastered the art of cultivation?
Yeah. And Ricky, I struggle with that because it sounds like an oxymoron to me. Like, how can you say that you're working on being the best leader, but you're not leading, right? That sounds like
Yes.
you're trying to be the best manager or the best employee, right? So I kind of struggle with that because I think the reality is there is a high return on investment when you invest in yourself, but you
Yes.
only can get that high return on investment through application, right? If you're not
Yes.
applying your learnings, if you're not applying the things that are growing you and enhancing you to empower someone else, you're not truly making impact. Right.
Yes.
So I think it's important to define what you're doing. Are you looking to be the best underline? Are you trying to be the best outcome that makes the true impact? Because
Yeah.
it feels like it goes hand in hand. You have to cultivate in order to grow, right? And I'm not really a green thumb or anything, but I know those words align somewhere in the space of, people who do gardening. But,
Yes.
I think the core of that, I can invest in myself, and I
Mm,
can do that selfishly and selflessly, but it's also equally important that I think of the outcomes of the people around me.
that's right.
And I'm a different type of person. Like I am a mentor at heart. So like, this year I think about
You
the
are.
14,000 people this year that I've impacted. I think about the mentee that I spoke to in Australia
That's
two
amazing.
days ago rather, who spoke about, her overachieving tendencies and wanting to invest in herself and how to identify her blind spots. The reality is, if I'm pouring into me and I can look at myself holistically
Mhm.
from whence I came to where I am to where I want to go, I am cultivating leadership. I am cultivating someone else by sharing that story, sharing that journey, and giving them space to ideate, to plan, to reflect, and to glean from my experiences. So I think for me, it's kind of hard to say, how can you strive to be the best leader and not cultivate others? It just doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It's how do you get a ship across water if everyone who has an oar doesn't want to row?
Mm,
And that as a leader, you have to be able to empower the row, right? It's
right.
everyone needs to feel like, well, I'm not rowing if I don't feel like I'm going in a good direction. Right,
Yes.
right. And that's a part of that leadership, leading from the front, right? Leading by example, all those things. And that's amazing.
Mhm.
Can you call out, you've spoken at a lot of different places as it relates to conferences and things of that nature. And I think it'll be great. Like if you can call out some of the events that you've spoken at, and then call out what's typically the message that you feel that you always have to have included in that you want to share when you speak.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. Well, that's a two-part question. So, some of the places that I've spoken at is Financial Executive International, a chief, International Association for Women, C-suite, my favorite Sisters in Sales, AWS reInvent. I can keep going on and on. I've been
I just
fortunate.
want you to, yeah, I want you to give them a shout out.
CCW, Las Vegas,
CCW. There you go.
in Arizona,
I
CX Exchange. I mean, I can keep going there.
love, love.
But that's kind of a hard question. I think the thing for me, like anywhere that I speak, it's important for me to be authentic. And I always find the opportunity to infuse truth
Yeah,
and grounding into everything that I speak about, like that commonality, that relatability. And why that's important to me is because oftentimes, depending on the audience in these events, you may get someone who's at a manager level or director level and they see the title and they get intimidated. But
that's
when
true.
right. But when I create a commonality and I say I have a 7-year-old son that just he's disrespectful when it comes to certain things. He really shows me what it means to be humble, right?
Uh-huh.
That really grounds people because they may not necessarily have the title, but they can relate to 7-year-olds not having a filter and telling you the things that you don't want to hear but are true.
True.
So
Yeah.
I think it's important to just connect with the audience beyond the title, beyond the scope of the topic, and just let them know that, they are seen, they are human, we have something in common that also creates that trust and that engagement in that environment. But it depends on the environment, but I always try to make sure that I infuse some authenticity and some relatability, that commonality, regardless of the room that I'm in, be it with C-suite executives, high school students, middle managers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what's important to me.
That's good. And that's a note. Look, for anyone who is out there who is on the verge, and we talked about this before we started, but gearing up, as you've been gearing up for a year or two, right? And just kind of turning your idea and your thought into action. Those are some words as it relates to how you attack the idea of public speaking or getting onto the stages, right? Those are some things that I think that we can really note and say, okay, well, if I really want to be an impact speaker, I think those are some of the things I have to consider. in how I do it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's really good.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I want to elaborate on that because you just, pivoted, and I think it's important to call this out too.
Yeah.
I think the reality is I've been speaking for a really long time, but I still get nervous. I have an inner saboteur. I call her Big Bertha, and she shows up at the wrong time all the time. And I
You're going
think
in the right direction.
yes, yes, you're going in the right direction. When that happens, you're going in the right direction. But I
Mhm.
also know how to question the merit in my concern. The reality is, and I just told one of my training managers that she's new, she just got into the role, is finding that commonality, regardless of a person's title. Titles can be taken away. Like during this call, someone can take my title away. I can pick up a new one. Today, I can
Yep.
declare I am queen of, today. And that's my title, right?
That's my title.
That's my title. But I think the reality of that situation is the commonality, with you, our
Yes.
commonality. You're in CX, I am in CX. I love people, you love people. That's the commonality that I have. And you can find a commonality with just about anybody. And
That's
I
right.
think the second part that I wanted to call out really quickly is that sometimes we can confuse fear and anxiety. We use those interchangeably, but they have two completely different definitions. When I first did my first paid keynote, and it was in front of doctors and healthcare professionals, I was so worried about the titles that I got a panic attack. The first time I ever got a panic attack, I was
No
so
way.
anxious. And what I realized is my anxiety was made up. It was
Mhm.
made up because in my head, I imagined that I was going to go on that stage, they're going to boo me, I was going to lose my job, lose my house, lose my marriage. So
Worst
all of
case
that,
scenario.
yes, all of that was stressful. I was anxious
Yep.
that I created this false reality. But fear is different. Fear is a real and present threat. So a
Yep.
real and present threat. I used to go to school in Grambling, and I used to go down to Opelousas, which is not too far from New Orleans. They have gators there. A real and present threat can be I can walk outside in someone's backyard and a gator can be right there in front of me. That's a real and present threat.
That's
It's
right.
not made up. It's not a figment of my imagination. My
That's
life
right.
is at risk, right? And I
Right.
think sometimes when we question if we can, we need to really identify, is it a real and present threat in front of me or something that I've created in my head that is false?
That's good. That's good. So I want to piggyback on that. For me personally, there's I have a belief that every emotion has a title
Mhm.
and every feeling has you could put a name and a title on these things, right? And what happens is if you start to understand that, all right, well, what I call nervous or what you call nervous, I call opportunity,
Mhm.
right? So anytime that I start to feel butterflies in my stomach or I start to get nervous because I'm about to do a good thing,
Mhm.
then I have, because I've done this for so many years as it relates to like, pushing myself through hard issues and things of that nature. I've learned to change the name of the thing that makes me feel any
Mhm.
kind of way. So if I'm getting ready to speak or do something and I'm starting to feel nervous, to me that means I'm walking into an opportunity, right? It's opportunity. Like fear, you change fear and you put a different name on fear. I'm not gonna call fear fear because I don't want to address it as such, right?
Mhm.
I don't want to call nervousness nervousness because I don't want to address it as such. It has to be something that, no, I am gonna own the name that makes me feel or move any kind of way. So from this day forward, nervousness, your new name is opportunity, right?
Yes.
So that's one thing, and especially within the community here, speaking with youth and young men and women, like
Mhm.
that's the core of it, right? Because a lot of the non-motion comes from fear,
Mhm.
anxiety, self-doubt,
Mhm.
all these things. Well, we have to change the name on what we call those things, right?
Yes.
And it's a good practice, and it's
Yes.
something that taught me through some of the worst,
Ooh,
the
that's so
worst times.
good. So
Yeah.
good.
And it's funny because my next question was, how do you push through fear? How do you push through the times that you've had imposter syndrome? Like what's and you've mostly kind of answered it, but it's how do you get through that, right?
Yes.
Because somebody's watched you. I can guarantee this. I can bet my savings on this. Someone's watched you and they've said, "How does she do that?
Mhm.
How does she have enough courage?"
Ricky, I hope you're ready for this answer,
Come on.
because it's deeply rooted. It is deeply rooted. I say this year I'm pushing P. And pushing P means I'm pushing past procrastination because I am a recovering
That's
undercover over
good.
procrastinator. Okay. But beyond that, my grandmother, she grew up during the civil rights movement.
Mhm.
And I was raised in a multi-generational household with my mom who had me at 15 and my grandmother and grandfather. And we grew up in this very small house, about 900 square feet. It was about 8 of us, one bathroom. I don't know how we survived. But my grandmother used to tell me stories about how she only went to school when it rained because her
Mm,
family was sharecroppers and they were
okay.
responsible for tending to the farm and tending to the crops and tending to the cotton. And to know that that was her circumstance and to see my circumstance, there's no way that I cannot push past it. I also know that
That's
there's yeah, right? I also know that there is no space for me to make an excuse. And I'm really good in curating and creating and
that one.
masterminding excuses. Uh, but when I really think of the excuse, I have to challenge myself. I haven't gotten masterful in replacing the words, but I have to really challenge myself. Like, is this really a challenge or am I creating it as a challenge? If my grandmother had the opportunity to do this, would she run toward it or she run away from it, knowing the limitations, the very real limitations that she had growing up in Jim Crow South? So for me, I know that most everything that I do is honoring the people who came before me
Yes.
that paved the way to make it easier for me. I don't have an imminent threat of someone showing up to my house and threatening my livelihood because of the color of my skin. I don't have anyone that's threatening my education because I have to tend to the crops and the cotton and animals. I don't have that threat. So I think the reality of that all is I don't do it all with ease. I have, those moments where I question myself too. But in the questioning myself, I have to question what's real and what's possible. Has it been done before? Is it impossible? Most things are not impossible.
That's right.
We like to believe they are.
That's right. That's right. That that is good. That is solid. I'm still stuck on only going to school when
Mhm.
it rains.
Yeah.
That in itself is a whole conversation.
Hmm.
Yeah, it took my brain like because I'm seeing it and
Yes.
it's yeah, what a powerful statement. You've grown and you're kind of going through this through life, right? And what I think a lot of people are noticing with you, you're building your personal brand. And what is like so what I want everyone to have an opportunity to take a part of this conversation right here as a lesson, right? Everyone has a personal brand,
Yeah.
right? Everyone utilizes that brand differently.
Hmm.
Uh, Everyone uses it to get certain things or move through their careers in certain aspects differently as well. So for you, with you building and having this personal brand, can you talk to the audience on how what's the one, two, three? If you want to build your personal brand and you want to have a presence in whatever industry it is, you can call it CX.
Yeah.
But how do you do that? Where do you
Yeah.
start?
Yeah. I think the first this is a great question because it is important. I think when people hear brand or personal brand, they think of companies or corporations.
That's
But I
right.
think the reality is the way that I think about personal branding is to create and curate the vision of yourself that you want others to see, right?
There you go. Yeah.
And if I were to think through the one, two, threes, one, in my opinion, personal branding is an inside job. Most people think about
Mm,
personal branding from the perspective of what's on LinkedIn or if I Google you, what shows up. But it starts with you. People forget the personal part of branding. personally, you really have to lean into who you are, honestly. What values do you bring? What are
Yeah.
your unique skills? What is your expertise? And a lot of people struggle with curating that, especially in the customer experience space. Navigating a mad customer who's upset calling you every name under the moon, that's an expert skill. That's executive presence
Come on.
101. So really being able to understand like your unique skills and your unique value that you bring to organizations and people is number one. And you can do that easily by asking or doing an ask campaign. So asking some friends or colleagues or people close to you, name the two or three skills that, or two or three things that I do better than anyone else that stands
I
out
love
to
that.
you.
I
Right.
love that. Yeah.
I think that's step one. The second one is really identifying how you want to use your brand. You don't need to use your brand to start a business or to write a book. I chose to do that. But you can use your brand to think about what impact and influence that you want to make in your community, or what impact or influence that you want to make in your organization that's not happening right now.
That's
And
right.
how can you use your brand, meaning what people know about you, not what you assume people know about you,
That's right.
to get in the rooms. And that can look like surrounding yourself with, I call this social wealth in my book. So, surrounding yourself with the people who have the power and influence to promote you or to promote your initiative or your strategy that you have. And it can be as easy as, if you have an intranet in your organization or you all have town halls and you heard someone that inspired you or motivated you or someone's message that resonated with something deep inside of you. It can be as easy as sending them an email or a chat if you use Teams, Zoom, Slack, or whatever medium to say, hey, I heard you on this or I watched you on this. This
Yeah.
one sentence stood out to me. Would you be open to connecting for 15 minutes?
That's good.
Most people love to talk about themselves. Most people are just waiting for people to take the initiative to do so. And then I would say the third step is to take action. Action can be get in my book, Promote Your Damn Self, available on Amazon or chantellove.com. But taking action, a brand does nothing if you don't do anything with it. And that can look like having a strategy around what your brand will do for you and being realistic. So if you want a promotion, don't say, I want a promotion tomorrow. Say, I want a promotion in the next 18 to 24 months and build a strategy around how to get more visibility, how to land the projects. And I'm going to let you in on a secret. ChatGPT is brilliant. Everything that I'm sharing with you right now, put it in ChatGPT and ask it, what super prompt can you create for me so that I
Mm.
can create a 12-month personal branding plan to advance my career? I mean, I have more templates and chat prompts in my book if you're looking for them. But those are the one, two, threes. One is an inside job, identify what you're unique at. Two, use the power of social wealth, those people who have power, influence, and authority to promote you. And three, take action. Really think about what you want your brand to do for you and build a plan around it.
I love that. I love that. And by the way, Promote Your Damn Self. The book is amazing. I do have a copy. I advise anyone who is looking to really get into the realm of self-identification and how do I get out there? How do I put myself out? Whether it be it's something that you want to do in your own hometown, it's something that you want to do in your community. Maybe you want to have more of a presence in your workplace, right? Maybe you want to have more of an executive presence in your career. Or maybe you want to be like Chantel and really be a mover and shaker and be able to command stages and lead people. I think
Mhm.
it is a really good book. That's an amazing book to be able to take you there. So I recommend it. I have my copy signed. So I appreciate that. And now that we are on the topic of promote your damn self, I think with your book, the book itself, obviously, I mean, the title, it's a movement, right? What
Yes.
inspired you to write it?
Hmm. That is a good question. Honestly, I want to go back to the beginning of our conversation when I told you I resisted customer service because of a bad experience that I had.
Mm,
I remember being in a contact center, and this was the days before we had remote work. So I actually drove my car into a contact center with a sea of
What?
500 seat contact center where I sat
No
in
way.
one of them. Yeah, many people don't know about those days. But my brand was built after I got an email. I was in the office and I got an email that read, "Your services are no longer needed." And it made me pause, and the room literally went quiet. And I started to think through the moments that I missed my friends' wedding and engagement parties, the moments that I didn't spend time with my family, the moments that I worked, came into work early and I left late, and all of the projects that I was on that contributed to saving money and making money. And then I had an epiphany that hit me in the chest like a ton of bricks, that I was doing all of the work, but no one knew that I was doing
Mm,
all of the work. And I found myself in that moment. I got up and I walked to the nearest bathroom. And when I went in that bathroom, it was a hot mess. But what I found in that bathroom was that no one was in there and I had silence. I went into that bathroom stall and I closed the door and I bawled. I cried so hard in that bathroom. And
yeah.
in that moment, I had that realization that that was the last time that I was going to be the hardest working invisible person. And as I started building my brand, I didn't know it was that at the time, but as I started building my brand along the journey of trying to make sure that I was vocalizing my value, getting out of my head and into my purpose, really owning my worth. There were people along that journey that said, "Hey Chantel, I see you accelerating and advancing in your career so fast. How are you doing it? How do you get the confidence to push past, your where you are in your career? You're just a supervisor right now. How do you have the confidence to talk to people who
Yeah.
are, years ahead of you and have, five steps above who you are?" And I started to mentor. I didn't know it was mentoring either. I started to mentor people along the way. And I started to realize that these people were getting promoted. These people were advancing their career. These people were paying it forward. These people were starting businesses and landing stages. And for me along that journey, while was able to make impact, I felt alone. I felt alone because I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a guide. I'm a first generation everything, a first generation college student, a first generation professional, a first generation homeowner, a first generation entrepreneur. And I did not have a guide or a blueprint. So I wrote Promote Your Damn Self because I wanted to be the mentor that I never had. So I share all of the strategies of overcoming imposter syndrome. I share all of the strategies of how to build social equity and social wealth and social capital. I share all of the strategies on how to show up on platforms like LinkedIn. I share all of the strategies on how to monetize your expertise without leaving your job and how to build a personal brand without putting your job at risk.
I think if you could distill a core message on the promote your damn self book in one sentence, right? What would that message be to the viewers?
Honestly, if you don't promote yourself, then who will?
Mm,
I think it's that simple. Like I think we spend so much time waiting on permission and waiting for other people that we end in this perpetual loop of waiting.
that's right.
And when you take action and you believe in yourself and you ask for what you want, what you're looking for, it gives you that empowerment. It gives you that assurance that your voice has value, especially when you
Good.
do it and you get that result. So if you don't promote yourself, then who will? You can't expect for someone to promote you. And if they do, they can't do it better than you.
Mm, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So there's a thing. I feel like there's a large number of people who are either in our space or not, right? Leaders or not in the customer experience world who who haven't really embraced the idea of promoting themselves. And I think it's more so because they haven't necessarily been exposed to someone who's willing to water them as the plant they are and be able to expose them to like the world of like, hey, you should want to be better, right?
Yeah.
You should want to be better than the person that's leading you, and the person that's leading you should want you to be better than them as well,
Mhm.
right? If you could have a message outside of just if you don't promote yourself, who will? And maybe it's for a group of young individuals there because they'll be able to see this as well.
Yeah.
they haven't been exposed to a woman who says you should promote yourself. They haven't been exposed to someone who is as confident as you, even if you're nervous
Mhm.
on the inside, right? What is the thing that you would say to them to not get them to do it, but to spark something inside of them that the idea is possible?
Yeah. I think the reality of what I know is that just removing all of that and just focusing on the person, right?
Yes, yes.
I know that we can change our world with our words. And
Mhm.
sometimes we don't necessarily know how to articulate our words, but we allow things to happen. We get into this space where we think things are happening to us versus understanding that it's happening for us, right?
Yeah.
Happening for us to see that there's something more than what we are or where we
That's
are.
good.
Happening
Yes.
for us to realize that there is power in our imagination. Happening for us to truly glean and understand that we can create whatever we want. And I'm saying this because I am that girl. I am that person that did not know or understand possibilities. I understood limitations before
Mm,
possibilities.
there it is.
But I think once you have an understanding of truly understanding that there is value in our words, I think Pastor TD Jake said there's millions in the mouth.
Mm,
And when you really understand that beyond what's going on in the trend or pop culture, when you take that pause and that inventory to understand that your words of saying, hey, I want to be the first in my family to do X, or it's possible for me to, change the trajectory of my family and really vocalize that and verbalize that and keep saying that to the point where you have crazy faith in knowing that it can happen.
yes.
Think really understanding the power in your words. What you say to yourself
Mm.
becomes real on both ends of the spectrum.
And that's why you put titles on things as well. Mhm.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So I want to spend a second. I believe that there have been people who have influenced you in your life in this industry, outside of this industry, right? And this is a portion of the podcast to where I would like to put out there on who held the ladder for you, right?
Ooh,
You've been climbing all your life. You've been kind of working up through the ranks and doing the thing that Chantel loves to do best. And somebody was at the bottom of the ladder, for one, exposing you to the ladder, like, hey, this is a
yeah.
ladder, right?
Yes.
Exposing you to the idea of what a ladder does and the use of that ladder. And then also teaching you and holding it as you scaled, right? And then the second part to that is you also are the person now, as you're going, you're still holding for someone else.
Yeah.
So who held the ladder for you,
It's
and
three
who
people
are you
that
holding the ladder for?
Yeah. So it's 3 people that come to mind. I'm going back to my grandma. While, she came up in humble, very, very humble beginnings, that woman
Yes.
had crazy faith. And she told me I could be anything, but didn't know how it was gonna
Yeah.
happen. But I believed her, right? She would always tell
Uh,
me, don't let anyone get in your way, you can do anything. But she's told me that since I was a little girl. The second one I would say my HBCU. I went to Grambling State University. I saw Black excellence. I saw what it meant to be excellent and to not waver from excellence, regardless of what environment I was in.
Sure.
So shout out to HBCU, specifically Grambling State University. The
Shout out.
third person I would say is my husband. My husband is phenomenal. He's been my cheerleader. He's been my rock. He's been the person that was right there with me when I got rejected from every single MBA program. And he encouraged me. He said, okay, you done crying? What are we going to do about it? He was, I want you to go in there and tell them
Love
that
it.
you belong in this school. And I was like, what? And I believed him. I believed that I can go into that school and talk to the dean of the College of Business and convince him that I belonged in that institution. And I got in because
I
of
love
his
it.
crazy faith and his
Crazy.
guidance and his support.
That's
So
right.
those are the three people close to me. I mean, I can say something about an idol, but I mean, these are real people in my life, real
There you
entities
go.
that are in my life that held the ladder for me. And you said, who am I holding the ladder for?
There you go.
I am holding the ladder for every person who has been othered. And what I mean by that was told that they couldn't do, they were not enough just because they came from a different social, economic status, demographic that they could not, would not be able to fill
Good.
in the blank. I'm
Yep.
holding the ladder, opening the door, releasing these beautiful butterflies because it's our time. And I'm holding the ladder because it's important to disrupt that narrative because it's not true. And like I said, there's value in the words. When you hear that so much, it becomes your truth. And it's
Yeah.
far from it. So I'm rolling out the red carpet, holding the ladder, opening the door, sending a private jet, maybe not a private jet, for anyone who's been othered, because we need to know that we have power and we have power in so many ways. That's why they say we
Okay.
can't.
I agree. I agree. And I think it's opening the doors, letting the garage open, opening up the windows, sending flares in the skies. I'm sending Ubers for others. I'm sending lifts for others, right? So yeah, I am with you on that. I love it. I love it. Is there anybody in the industry, let's say industry specific, as it relates to who has who as it relates to customer experience,
Yeah.
who's made an impact on you? And maybe it could be indirect. Maybe it could be absolutely direct, right? Give me a few of those if you can.
Oh, I have a list. Goodness.
Come on. We got to
Um,
give out some flowers today.
Yes. I would say just a person who's always inspired me, who started from the bottom and she rose. Ursula Burns from Xerox, who went from administrative to CEO, first Black woman CEO in a Fortune 500 company. I would
Mhm.
also say Sandy Coe over CCW Women for creating space for empowerment
So,
for women and underserved professionals. I would say you for creating space. I mean, I see you moving as with your quiet confidence, but also, changing perspectives,
sure.
changing paradigms, moving things forward. I would say Freed from Marriott. She's
It's
amazing. I
amazing.
mean, I could
Absolutely.
just keep naming names. Adrian, Cesar Bradley is phenomenal with the work that he's doing in the contact center and customer service space. I have to give him his flowers.
Absolutely.
Juanita in the workforce space. I mean,
There you
there's
go. There you
so
go.
many people that I can name.
No, that's good. And I wanted to take a moment to for you to do that because a lot of times the people that have impacted us, they're spending time doing the thing, not knowing how much of an impact that they've had on others, right? So I think it's always good because you never know how much of a battery is low on
Mm,
someone that's around you, and just some kind words or just a little bit of recognition to say, hey, thank you, you actually helped me and I really appreciate it. It really refills their cup, right? And we want all the people that you shouted out to move with a full cup, right?
yes.
And I think that's amazing. So to end this off, right? We talked about confidence. We talked about leadership. We talked about how to operate within the CX industry, how to lead teams. We talked about AI and digital and how to have and keep a human impact on your culture. Is there something that your younger self would tell you if she sat across from you, little Chantel
Hmm.
sat across from you today? Not what you would tell her, but what would she say to you?
Mm. I have to reference a quote before I answer that. One of my favorite quotes is, if you don't come from a wealthy family, let a wealthy family come from you.
That's good.
And and wealth for me is not necessarily what's in your bank account. My mental wealth, my physical wealth, my spiritual wealth is really important. And I think if little Chantel sat across from me, she would probably fold her arms and say, "Girl, you did that. Like, you are the wealthy family." So I would say that's how that would go if I sat across from my younger self. I think
Wow.
she would be proud.
Listen, you're walking the walk. Okay. Now you're helping others find their voice. You are a speaker. You are an author. You are a mother. You are a wife. You are an inspiration. And you are a pinnacle to those who feel stuck or invisible, for those who are unsure about themselves and trying to find their voice. So thank you for living in that. Thank you for showcasing that that is actually your truth, and not just by plastering it on LinkedIn and social media, but actually being out and about and really showing like, hey, this is really who I am. And I really have a thoughtful mind and a big heart for those who need it. I think that you're going to do great things, Chantel. I think that there are going to be many, many people like Abraham. There's
Mhm.
going to be many, many people that are going to be able to look back and say, I come from, or I have a mark of Chantel's leadership on me. I have a mark of her confidence on me. Even in my nervousness, I have a mark of overcoming, right? I have a mark of being an other, but now I am one of one, right? So thank you for that. You are and have been amazing today. I appreciate it. Everyone, please spend time, reach out to Chantel if there's something that you've taken out of this and you think that she can be an impact to your life or your team's life. Also, there's a book called Go Promote Your Damn Self or Promote Your Damn Self. Go do that. I appreciate everybody. Love it. Thank you, Chantel.
Thank you. Take care.